Skipper Tyler Harvey, good to see you, mate. It's been a little while since we spoke.
Yeah, nice microphone, man.
Yeah, I know, it's the best. Mate, obviously you've been around the league a long time by now and seen a lot of things, but I imagine coming off the loss you're coming off, that would be one of the more disappointing, but also one of the more extraordinary. How do you sort of, I guess, process that and then look to move on from it?
Thank you. I think, it's obviously it was disappointing. And, when you're in pursuit for a championship, you're going to go through some things. And there's no set way that the championship's going to manifest itself without going through some crazy situations. And I think that's what builds a strong team mentally, physically. It prepares you for those moments later on down the line. Now, obviously, you'd want to win a game like that, but it didn't happen that way. It happened, and we have to move on, because if you don't move on, then you're setting yourself up for failure later on.
I guess nobody ever wants to suffer a loss, or could they say you could use a loss. I don't think any player or coach has ever actually thought I could use a loss, but I suppose when you get done at the end like that, if you'd snuck home, it could almost be one that you might be able to sort of brush and move past. But when you get beaten in those circumstances, is it one that you, I guess, have to sit up and take notice of? People call it a reality check, a wake-up call, any of those type of things. But is it one that, I guess, you have to, I guess, build off and take the lessons from, given it did end up in a defeat?
Yeah, I think there's no other way to take a loss like that. I mean, you learn more from losses than you do wins, in my opinion. Obviously, you hate to learn a lesson with the situation that happened on the weekend, but it is what it is. It's a lesson that we have to learn. We addressed it, and we just move on, man. We have another big game tomorrow that is very important to our season, so you have to move on. It's part of the sport, and it's part of life. Things are going to happen. Ups and downs are going to happen. You have to move on. That's how you respond is better than the situation that happens. So that's where our mindset is.
Have you obviously seen in the league as well? I imagine you would have known at some point as that streak you were on and everything was really humming. Have you learned enough in this league to know that something's going to get thrown in front of you? There's going to be some adversity at some point. It's not going to be, smooth sailing.
Yeah, I think every year you go through things, and if you can predict when you're going to go through situations, then there's no point even playing the game then. You don't know what's going to happen. But the beauty of our team is, we don't let things shake us for long. Obviously, you let it sting a little bit, but you show up the next morning and you have to process the next game. So that's what we're doing, man. And I think that's just part of, like I said, building a championship team. You're going to have to go through peaks and valleys, and you want to be able to peak at the right time. So we had a nice stretch where we won, 5 games in a row. And, now it's time to start a new streak.
Is it almost something you can have a lot of confidence in? Trey Kell walking past. The bromance, it continues. Is it one of the things that you can have a lot of confidence in this team? Because it's one thing, particularly under JT, consecutive losses have been very rare. It's something that this team has really been good at, is moving on from something really quick and turning it around in a quick time space. And that's obviously the challenge you've got ahead of you coming into the JackJumpers.
Yep, I think you nailed it, and I think you have no other choice. You have to move on, man. What happened is what happened, and fresh start tomorrow. We're 0-0, and you got to just try to get to 1-0.
But you end up putting enough performances in the bank the way you have. I can't imagine that's the type of thing that really dents the confidence too much. I imagine it's something you think you're going to bounce back pretty quickly and get back on that run.
Yes, man. I think everybody's confidence is high. Nobody's confidence is shaken because of a couple losses, and that's the kind of players that we have in this team. And true character shows when you go through adversity, and everybody on this team has gone through a little adversity, but we also overcome it.
JackJumpers went through theirs probably at the early. I've got to talk to JackJumpers. That's who you're playing. We've got to get there eventually. It's the last one, I promise. The JackJumpers obviously faced some adversity earlier on in the year, but they're on this run, obviously suffered a loss the other night to a Phoenix team that's really humming, but they're a team going into that was starting to look like that team that won, the championship. What do you make of them? And I guess obviously the challenge they present, and obviously probably wanting some revenge. You really gave them a bit of a touch-up last time they were in this building.
I think the JackJumpers is a good example of just fighting through adversity. You see the way they started this year, and everybody jumps off their bandwagon, but that's a championship team. Their mindset's a championship mindset, and that's what resiliency and fighting through adversity looks like. They rattled eight in a row, so that's the standard of a championship team. They won it last year, and we know they're going to come in here. It's going to be a tough battle, man. Every game in this league is crazy, and it's going to be tough. So it's getting to the crunch time part of the year where teams are battling it out, man, and just trying to win.
I've run out of questions. You've bled me dry. Tyler Harvey, thanks for joining us. Skipper,
Thanks,
best of
brother.
luck.
Good to see you, man.
Best of luck.